Episode 6.
Six.
Oh, that was loud.
That was loud. Maybe we should just shout all the way through because everyone moans that it's too quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is definitely an audio issue that I'm working with.
Yeah.
The last one was in a completely different place, but
we are
it's
new
what it
to
is.
this.
Yeah. It's going to take a while,
Yeah.
but
So
we're back on it.
Episode 6. We did plan on having someone on, but we've postponed. Actually, we'll probably have to record. I haven't even said this to John yet, but we're probably going to have to record 2 next week.
Yep.
Because someone's agreed. The person I was talking to earlier has agreed to do Wednesday.
Oh, cool.
And then the other person that we said about will probably
the one to answer one of the questions.
No, someone else, but we might be able to get them on a Tuesday. Yeah, so we'll probably do 2 next week, and then that'll give me a week off.
Relax for a bit.
Yeah. So have you had a good week?
So far, so good. Just getting abuse all the time for smothering people.
It's what you're known for now. We're trying to bully it out of you.
No one's enjoying it.
No.
I've had I think 2 people do it to me so far, and it's been not fun.
No, that's it.
But also they haven't been the best at doing it, so just calling them out now.
Who was it?
Try harder.
Who was it?
Harry.
Oh, he's got the size. He could do it.
The first one that he did was horrible.
Yeah.
But
it's open mat tonight.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to do when I roll with you is just put my hand over your mouth.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
No.
Yeah.
Guess I'm not rolling with you then.
No,
I'll just
you
not
are.
make eye contact at all.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think training's been alright. I'm trying to up it a little bit, put a bit more effort into adjusting my game.
Okay.
And being more controlled.
Any particular thing that you're wanting to implement into your game, or are you
smothering from everywhere?
No. No one likes it, John.
I need to be more fun, I think, because at the moment I've been too much of just getting to mount and smother, which isn't too much fun. But I want to get back to movement around the body and control, being tight in areas.
Do you find it difficult because you're a bigger guy, and there's not that we have a bit of a weird weight range in our gym, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm quite light. I think there's a handful of us that are quite light in the gym. Yeah. So I fluctuate sort of mid 60s. I think Sean said he's 60. Archie's around my weight or a little bit lighter. Yeah. And then you've got the 70s guy, 70 kg guys, but we don't have many. We do have some bigger guys, but they're white belt, really, aren't they? So do you find it difficult to sort of develop a game? Because apart from John Harrison, he's a blue belt, but he's very good blue belt. Yeah, to be fair, very good. He's similar weight to you, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
we're maybe a kg off each other.
So that's your not your comparison round, but pound for pound, if you know what I mean. Yeah. That's your sort of round, isn't it? When you go with him. But then when you roll with someone like me or Sean or something like that, it's hard. Is it harder to implement your game because you do end up just sort of pinning us? Because
I find with rolling with people like you and Sean, I adjust how I train. Yeah. So especially with Sean, I work on control because he's so much smaller than me.
Yeah.
He's very good at just finding the space, and when he gets that little bit of space, then escapes. So instead of thinking about subbing him, I'm more thinking about being able to control him, not give him any space to be able to escape. Because then going against someone the same size as me, I feel like then I should be able to control them.
Yeah. See, that's so. I've got the same.
Someone's banging outside my unit. It's driving me insane.
Yeah, but we'll just get over it. I've got a similar weird thing that I'm trying to implement my top game.
Okay.
That's my thing. I
try and stay on top.
Yeah. So me and you had a conversation, probably even on the podcast, and said that. I needed to work on positions rather than submissions, and my submission rate is rapidly dropped. I don't really submit much anymore, I will get into a position and I sort of like make it uncomfortable enough for them that they, you know, like they'd know that I could submit them in that position, but then I'll like transfer over to something else. But so what I'm going to do now, and going off a conversation that I had with our coach, is I'm going to probably just try and like really implement that top game, like the more your style of like getting on top, staying on top sort of thing, because I've never done that really. I can do it.
There's something else I can show you from mount that helps control mount, which is quite powerful.
Yeah.
I'll show you that later.
But so what I was saying to you is like, yeah, going off of what I was saying to you about like, you know, if you can do it with John, you can sort of like, and then you can bring it elsewhere. So I sort of trying to think of the same thing. So like when I roll with like the bigger guys, and then
you can stay on top and move around them.
Yeah.
So that's like if you got them in mount and then they start sort of bumping and try and turn over, you switch to like knee on belly or side control and stuff like that. Just constant movement, staying on top and active.
That's it. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say is like it's a bit different. Like for a smaller guy, is it easier to sort of like have a bottom game and then build up? And then for a bigger guy, is it easier to like, because you've already got that bit of like size behind you and a bit of strength just purely through size behind you to like have a good top game and stuff like that. But it shows when then you roll with someone your own weight, doesn't it? If you know what I mean, it's like, oh, okay. Because I think it was either you or the other John said the other day about the smothering, and then I said, yeah, imagine what that's like, but with someone that's like 30 kg heavier than you. And it's like, oh shit, like,
horrendous.
Yeah, really, yeah. Because like John Harrison was like, yeah, it's fucking horrible, and I was like, yeah, but like, you know, he's still got a bit like the skill and the strength to sort of like get out of it if he wants to. But like when you really get it down on me, I'm like, I don't much. Yeah, there probably, you know, everyone says, oh, jiu-jitsu's it's more technical game, it's a small man's game, blah blah blah, but it's like,
but when you've got someone who's bigger that's also technical and does jiu-jitsu, then it equals it out.
Exactly.
And then it comes down to the strength and ability.
I always call out that thing about what is it, I can't remember the quote exactly, but you know, like the whole strength versus size thing and technique versus size thing, and I've seen other people that are sort of calling this out on Instagram and stuff at the moment, and it's like, to put it bluntly, it's like it's kind of bullshit, because if you put two white belts, push them into a room, both guys have like, you've got a 100 kg white belt and then a 65 kg white belt, and you push them into a room, and you're like, you know, and you're like, right, you're gonna spar. They've both been training like a week, 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Then the bigger guy is gonna beat the smaller guy.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10.
9 times out of 10, right?
Yeah.
So then them two, they carry on training all the way through, right? But, you know, the 100 kg guy stays the same size, the small guy stays the same size, all the way through. I mean, there'll be a level when they start to level out, but that won't be in their early days of jiu-jitsu, will it?
No.
And I mean, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, the small guy could get really technical and really good.
Yeah.
But
people learn differently as well, so like that's why you say sort of 9 times out of 10, because that bigger guy might have a harder time learning and the smaller guy might not.
Like, but it takes me when me and you roll, obviously there's a massive skill difference between me and you, but when me and you roll, like, I've caught you a couple of times, right, but it's a very like lucky a time of something that I really enjoy, like leg locks or something like that. But again, I know it's a skill difference as well, but it's also like the difference of like sort of, you can just like sweep me off you. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's like adapting to if you're it's harder for me to say, because obviously I'm bigger than, I wouldn't say the average person, because
no,
but to our gym, I'm probably one of the bigger ones out of the group. So it's harder for me to sort of gauge, but I would say like adjusting your game to suit your size rather than trying to just do everything and just think it's going to work. Yeah. Because some techniques will suit different size people better.
Yeah, 100%. And I find when I roll with like you or other John or Harry and, you know, the bigger guys, I it's a more intense round for me because I have to move more because I have to get out of those spaces. Whereas when I'm rolling with someone my own weight, I can be like, oh right, okay, he's got me down, but I can sweep him.
Yeah.
Because do you know what I mean?
Sam's a good example because he's very small. Can't remember his weight. He's heavier than you, isn't he?
I want to say he is middle 70s.
But he loves like the deep half and stuff like that,
Yeah.
getting right underneath. And for a big guy, like obviously the weight on him's gonna affect him, but he's very good at staying underneath your hips and like controlling you and sweeping, which shows.
Again, that's it, and that's he's built that
over time,
technical ability over time.
Yeah,
being the size that he is, to then use that game on people like your size, and then you're sort of forced into that position, aren't you?
That's the thing. Like I found when I started, I knew the top pressure stuff because of my size would come naturally.
Yeah.
So I tried doing more stuff from my back, like inverting and getting upside down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just because I know that's going to be more of a struggle early on than it would be to just stay on top and just smash people.
But then the argument is, in a competition setting or in a role or whatever, like you're always naturally going to be able to use that top pressure, aren't you?
Yeah.
So like in comp, you're probably gonna get on top and stay on top. Whereas
you'll try to,
but every comp, and I remember whenever you've come to my competitions, you've always said to me, get on top and stay on top. Yeah. And then you maybe for like the first two or something, and then I remember at Budo, you were like, you even said to me, you were like, I'm not going to tell you to get on top because it doesn't work for you. You were like, just get into the entanglements or get underneath.
Where you're most comfortable.
Yeah.
And the thing with that competition as well is most subs.
Yeah.
So you're not worried about the point system.
Exactly.
And you being on your back, you're more comfortable there and hitting subs from there than you are on top. Just because that's where you more naturally are.
But not anymore.
No. You're a changed man.
You're going to see a new Mason.
That's one thing, like, keep talking about this point of like the size difference. When I got into this habit of just dropping weight constantly all the time, I think the lowest I got to was like 79. And in a way, like, it was an addiction because I was like racing Ashley. We were both like, oh, we dropped this today or we've dropped this week and stuff like that. Getting down to 79 was almost partially a way of me proving the stuff that I was doing would still work, me being lighter, and there'll be less of a weight difference between me and the people I train with.
I always say that to you, don't I? I'm always like,
it's because you're big.
I'm always like, drop down to 70 and let's go again. Yeah.
And I think, like, I had a white belt the other day sort of talking to me about it and saying like, oh, you're quite big, aren't you? And started feeling like he was kind of suggesting the only reason why I'm winning is because, or like getting the upper hand on him was because I was bigger. Which was just like, that's like a downer on the amount of time and effort I've put into this.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
it's such a steep learning curve.
There's a massive, like, say, for me and you, for the example, there's I believe even if me and you were the same, so say you know you wind back and me and you were still blue belt, I still believe that you'd always have that upper edge on me. So like if we'd have started,
if we're both at blue belt,
if we'd have started our journey at the same time, you would definitely have that upper edge on me because you already have that like size to you. Yeah, but now it's a bit different for you. Like if you're smashing a white belt, it's not because you're big. It's because you're a brown belt and you've trained for like X amount of years. Do you know what I mean? And that's what.
There's always an opportunity where someone with less experience can catch you off guard or catch you being lazy or just think about something else. There's always an opportunity that can happen, but I think as you progress, there's less of that. Yeah.
Well, I've found that because with some of the white belts in our gym, like they're starting to get a bit snatchy and like catch stuff on me, and I'm like, whoa, yep. You know what I mean? It's like that was close, you know. So it does happen, and I think that any higher belt that's ashamed of being tapped by a lower belt is you got to get over that. Yeah, you got to get.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen a few times.
Yeah, that's it.
It's always going to happen.
Yeah. I think I've touched on this in the past, but, like, especially when you start to, like, teach or coach, like, in your position, it's like when if you're teaching something which happens because you've said like Cameron, like other people that are really good at picking up the techniques and stuff like that. You show them something and then they hit it on you in a roll. It's like it must be. I say I don't know, but it must be like, oh, that's like a bit of a compliment, isn't it? Rather than like oh, he just subbed me with this or whatever.
That was like back when I was teaching a lot of leg drag stuff, and Cam was coming to my like Friday mornings and it's just worked for him. And like suddenly open mats, he's hitting it on everyone. He's hitting it on me, and like you get a sense of pride or like proudness of just seeing like something that you've taught working for someone.
Yeah.
And even though they're hitting it on you and it's working and it's effective, you're like, I showed them that.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes you proud.
Yeah, it's cool. That was a bit of a long-winded. I don't even know how we ended up there.
I think that was starting from me talking about how my week's going.
Yeah. So.
How's your week going?
Yeah. Yeah, not too bad. Again, say training consistently. I've been crazy busy in my personal life. But
got a lot going on.
Yeah, but trying to train consistently, and I've been trying to put like a bit of a mental plan in my head for when my baby's born. Just so
that's gonna mix things right up.
Yeah, just so that I can be like, right, I've got a goal, I've got a plan. I want to get to this point. I want to do this. I want to do that. But obviously, understandably, training's going to drop right off. Well, it might do. It might not. You don't know. I don't know.
No.
So yeah, trying to put a few things in place. But this week, yeah, all good. Like I say, taking another look at my game, taking another look at what I'm focusing my time on, and tonight will be interesting because I'm going to try and go at it with like a fresh head.
Yeah.
And see what's what. Again, I've got to take the exception that I'm probably going to get submitted a lot.
Yeah.
Through this next sort of like phase or whatever whatever you call it, because
it's going to happen because you're not focusing on that area.
I'm not going to be in the comfortable positions that I'm used to. So yeah, apart from that,
it's hard to stay focused on it because you in your head what works for you.
Yeah.
And then
you see a position, you're like, I could get a sub from here. It's
like,
no. Yeah.
Go back to what I'm trying to practice. So it's like being able to practice the sweeps, getting on top if you do end up on bottom, and then also getting the positions on top and controlling it.
Yeah.
It's going to be tricky.
Yeah, that's it. 100%.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good.
I think, I wasn't even going to be here today for the open mat. I was going to be doing a Pilates class. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not now.
No, you've decided to be a human.
Yeah.
And come to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, the sport that you train.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you're a brown belt now and you've like completed it.
Yeah, just like pretty much prestige.
Yeah.
No, I was going to try Pilates or yoga. I originally thought I was going to do yoga, but it was actually Pilates.
So Yoga's good.
Yeah,
bit of flexibility and stuff.
I think just after lockdown, did like 2 yoga classes because it was Bernie's brother.
Oh, you kept to it then? Consistent?
Yeah. Well, I keep being told I need to do some sort of form of stretching.
Yeah.
I know, like when I roll my shoulders, when I put my arms out straight and I roll them backwards, the right one's just clunking and grinding and just stuff going on with it.
I was thinking about this the other day. So I run a building company and I do quite a physical job. Yeah, you've got quite a physical job. I don't really stretch or anything like that. When I go and train, most days I don't feel like I'm already like where I've been moving and working all day. I'm like my body's warm, if you know what I mean. Like if I go straight from work to training, I'm like I could probably just jump on and roll. You know what I mean? Like it's different for other people.
It's not like sat at a computer all day doing nothing.
And I don't know if that will help me through because I have a physical job that I'm always like moving, lifting. Like, and again, I don't do any like strength and conditioning or like gym stuff anymore. I used to, but then I'm like, I'm unloading like pallets of blocks and stuff or whatever that I need to do in that day.
That's pretty much doing a gym session.
But each block's probably like, oh god, I should probably know, but I would say each block's probably like, we got high dense ones at the moment,
20.
so 15, 20 kilos. Let's say there's like 78 on a pallet, and you do like 20 pallets or whatever.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of weight lifted up and down in a day, and then like shoveling, like I look at this. This always makes me laugh. Raspberry Ape, Dan Strauss. So he's very big into like the strength side of things, and like so. But I look at some
grip strength and that.
Yeah, I look at some of the exercises that he like has developed, and a lot. It's like stuff like he's got one where you sort of just like do a soaring motion. Yeah. And it's like, yep, do that most days.
Yeah.
And then it's like other stuff like hitting sledgehammer workout and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, just like
that is literally just being in the building trade.
Yeah, it's funny to us, but to other people they're like, oh, this is hard work, if you know what I mean. And it is hard work to us. Like most days I'm absolutely beat out, do you know what I mean? But
so I remember when I was doing labouring work, like I did electrics for 2 years, helped build swimming pools, did gardens, all sorts of things, and it's hard work. Like carrying the bricks around, carrying slabs for patios and stuff, laying slabs, doing all those things. It takes a toll on you, and it is just literally a gym session.
But yeah, so
in the cold.
Yeah, but this is where I'm going, right?
Oh.
So all through the summer and that, and I'm like, yeah, training, feel good. Like, didn't really get any, like muscle
major
pain and stuff like that.
Or anything.
The cold is setting in now, right? And I have noticed such a difference.
Yeah.
So like, just getting up out of bed in the morning, and I'm like, that's my back, that's my knees, sort of thing. And then when I go and train, I'm always like, I could really do with like stretching or doing something just to settle my muscles.
Yeah.
Whatever stretching does, I don't know. Never done it.
Yeah, it's something that I'm constantly told to do, but I just never do it.
It's always the older guys. They're like, oh, if you don't do it now, blah blah blah, and then it's like, I do neglect
the stretching. It's probably why I'm so messed up on my shoulder.
Well, this is.
But that's also just tapping a bit late.
Yeah.
Trying to escape.
That's your problem. Yeah.
Just leave it too late.
Yeah. Anyway, that was from my week, wasn't it? So that's another tangent that we seem to be getting ourselves into. But what I was going to bring to the table
today.
Yeah, what's that guy's name that's been doing all the weird Instagram videos? You know, the guy that like hates Craig Jones and
I haven't even seen that, I don't think.
Yeah, you were talking about it to me, the Andrew guy.
Oh, Andrew Wiltsey.
Yeah.
His account's gone.
Oh, is it?
I think so. I tried finding the other day to try and catch up with the drama.
Yeah.
And didn't exist. I think it's either been blocked or deleted.
Because I think I'm really behind with it, because I've seen a few of them this week, and that's just like, what is going on? So, get my head around it, right? So this guy was like quite a high-level black belt, right?
Yeah.
Trained like loads and loads. Who did he train under?
Pedigo.
Right.
So Heath. So he was part of Daisy Fresh.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's just gone off the rails.
Yeah, so I think he's what's it called when you like split personality?
Like bipolar.
Yeah, I think he's bipolar, potentially. I might be wrong. And he used to be on medication, I think. One of the guys from our gym used to train for a while over there, I think like a month or something, got to know some of the guys. And this was when he stopped training with them lot. And they said like they'd bump into him in a pub and stuff like that. But yeah, I think he stopped taking it, or he's always been a bit crazy. And he just absolutely lost it. He's just going off the rails, talking about shooting cops if they come to his house. And
because I saw a video and it's like he's on the phone to like the police and he's calling the police on Craig Jones.
And then Craig Jones like changed the clip to him crossing the border into Mexico.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and he's like, I got to flee. Yeah, it's a strange one. I say I don't really know much about the jiu-jitsu world, if that makes sense.
Just outside, other than outside of our little area.
Yeah, like I don't. This year was like the first year that I've really started watching like Polaris and stuff like that.
Was this year your first Polaris event you went to, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. So I've never really got into it before. So, like, some of the people's names, like, I remember we were sat at Polaris.
And you didn't have a clue who half the people were.
Yeah. And there was, like, a load of people sat in front of us. I think it was Felipe Andrew and, who's the other guy from AOJ? The young Guy guy.
Oh, Cole Abate.
Cole Abate and all that. And everyone's like, oh, my God.
And, like, the Mendes brothers. Who was it? It was Guy Mendes. He was sat just in front of us, literally the row in front, and you didn't have a clue who he was.
And you guys were all like, look, and I was like, who's that?
I was like, I want a picture with that man, because like, their stuff, I absolutely love their content, and just the movement of the brothers is just insane. And he was just sat right there and was like, should I get up and like ask him for a photo? But I didn't want to disturb him. And then once he did get up, it was halfway through a match, and I was like, I didn't want to disturb the people to the side to me. I was just like, fuck.
Yeah.
I ruined it.
See stuff like that. I'm just like, it just doesn't bother me. It's weird. No. Yeah, but it's because I don't really know and stuff. I got a picture with Felipe, but that was for different reasons. So yeah, I can't remember where I was going to go with that.
With Andrew Wiltsey.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something that I wanted to say on it, but I can't remember. I just found it quite funny. I just find Craig's reaction funny.
He definitely brings a spice to the community.
Craig?
Yeah.
I think he has or will completely change the world of, as in like jiu-jitsu world.
What, with the CJI stuff?
With that, and just like the comedy value that he brings to it, and like he's doing all this traveling and just like introducing people, and he's starting to hang around with like similar celebrities or like influencers that I see going to UFC events. He's now hanging around with, and so he'll hopefully bring those people over to like jiu-jitsu thing. And as much as jiu-jitsu is like this like sport where we're like, it's quite private, isn't it? And not a lot of people know what it is, and not a lot of people know. If you say to people, I train jiu-jitsu, they're like, oh yeah, but they don't really know.
No,
like what
they think it's some sort of karate. But I think that's changing slightly. Like more people are starting to know what it is. Yeah,
but I think a lot of that is because of the UFC and like the grappling side of things. Like people are getting to know it, because like I said before, when we spoke about quite a good question, wasn't it, that was asked about how many percentage of people make a living out of jiu-jitsu or something. And as I said, like UFC's widely watched by people that don't necessarily train, and celebrities, influencers, all that sort of thing. And I think basically what I'm trying to say is like with Craig bringing a lot of those guys over, what it needs to do is like mainstream the sport.
Yeah.
And it might seem like people that are listening to this podcast, or me, you, anyone else that trains, it might seem like to us that it's out there, like your Instagram's full of it, you're always watching videos of it and all like that. But that's us, because we train.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So hopefully, I think Craig is going to transform that. Like with the £1 million prize money and stuff like that, people are interested in that. People are like, oh, who's going to win?
And I think the rule set and the pit idea is such a good one, because it just keeps the flow of it going. And it's like you don't end up walking off the mat and then reset back into the middle. It's like it's continuous.
Because like ADCC did that. So with the ADCC rules of like, you know, if you're like committed to a sub or something, isn't it? Like, and it goes off the mat, they let you carry on. Like I've seen it where they're like smashing into camera people, like crowds and stuff like that. And that sort of changed it a bit, because it made it quite interesting
and made it a bit entertaining, seeing them going off the mat and like stumbling and continuing.
But for more people to potentially make a living out of jiu-jitsu, it needs to be more widely out there.
No.
And again, with Craig Jones, the whole prize money thing, and I know we've spoken about this before and it's probably a bit boring for people, but more people should be offering out prize money for competitors, for these, like, what do you call them, super fights.
Yeah.
And I know they are. So that is it that I always get the name of this wrong. I'm just gonna quickly get it up on my Instagram. what the name of this.
That's also the thing with it. Like, there isn't a huge amount of money in jiu-jitsu.
No,
to be
and
able to
that's what
hand
I
out,
mean.
but people need to be able to almost be a charity and just dump some money into it to help.
Yeah.
But it's one of those.
But who has that at the moment?
No.
Even some of the biggest brands and like jiu-jitsu brands.
It's just making jiu-jitsu exciting to the ordinary person.
Yeah, so that people will pay to watch it.
Yeah.
But
because at the moment you watch it from the outside point of view, and it just looks like two guys or two women just hugging for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
It just looks strange. You don't understand the whole underhooks are important, or how to escape a submission. And some people just like, just stand up. It's like, it's not as easy as that.
Yeah, but yeah. So this guy or this gym is Ikigai Submission Grappling. They're based up in Manchester, I believe. It says here it's run by I don't know if this is the guy's name. Oh, Stephen Henschel.
Okay.
So Henschel Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is who runs it, and basically, like, fair play to them, because they're like, they've just offered out, so they're always offering prize money on their super fights.
Yeah.
But they're not like small super fights. There's like so the one that's obviously quite noticeable is and actually Cameron from our gym has managed to get into it, but there's a 16-man blue belt tournament next year in May the 25th, I think. That's just off the top of my head, could be wrong, but it's 16-man under 100 kilo bracket, and it's $5,000
that's
prize
decent.
money. Now, $5,000 is a lot of money. $5,000 for prize money is mental, but to offer that to blue belts is even wilder.
Yeah.
So it kind of seems like this guy, I can't remember, sorry, what his name was, Stephen Henschel, was it? I think so. But he's like the Craig Jones of the UK at the moment, because that's going to change the game. Other people are going to have to start offering the same prize money, aren't they? Or something similar. And he's obviously finding a way to fund it. And it's probably through ticket sales, because I know, he put a post on the Instagram the other day. There's a few hoops you've got to jump through to get onto this card. But so yeah, fair play. So you should this guy's offering you $5,000, and essentially, if you've say he comes to you and he says, right, you've got a place in this tournament.
Yeah.
But you need to sell 10 tickets. I mean, I don't know what the actual things are, but just for an example, you've got to sell 10 tickets, right? They're £15 each, yeah? If you, in your head, business-mindedly, aren't going, right, I really want to get onto this card, so fuck it, here's the £150 for 10 tickets, just out of your own money, and then you could divvy them off to your mates or whatever, sell them back, make some money back or whatever. But that's your investment to then get onto that card, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, basically, like, so this Ikig guy is setting the levels, I would say, for the UK now. That
there's definitely more coming out now.
Yeah.
Since I think there was always some floating around, and they was doing small sort of prize money for like black belts and stuff. But I think since CJI, there's been more of an emphasis on giving out money to winners. Yeah. Ever since then.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's nice to see.
And so this one, for example, like I say, it's under 100 kg bracket. So that's, that goes back to our first conversation that we were just having about this whole size thing. Like, that's a battle. There's going to be guys in there that are potentially 60 kg, 70 kgs going up against 100 kg guys.
Yeah.
This is like proving you're going to prove yourself here.
Definitely.
On that. But so I'm excited for that. I'm going to go, hopefully, I'm going to go up. There should be a group of us going up to watch.
I'm going. I think it's in Manchester or somewhere.
Manchester, yeah. So it's going to have to be an overnight thing.
Go out for the night.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
But I'm excited. And I'm excited to support, like, Cam into it, but also to try and support that.
The idea
being that I support that they should be doing that. I always say that.
So you throwing in a couple of grand?
No. I support with my words, not my finances. But yeah, so I think it's good. I'm a good advocate of what that guy's doing, basically.
Because the amount of effort and the amount of time people put in to compete in, to then have to sign up and pay to compete, and then just get a gold medal at the end, like, to then actually reap some reward for all the time that you put in, why not?
Yeah.
Like, you deserve it.
I don't see how, and again, I don't run a competition. I do run a business, so, I'm not just talking off of vein here. I have some experience with, like, numbers and all that. I don't see how, when you're paying X amount of money to enter a competition, some of them are like, if you're on a late entry, some of them are like 130 quid now for 2 brackets or whatever. I don't see how they can't be offering each gold medalist 100 quid.
Yeah, at least.
Or you get your prize money, you get your
money
entrance fee back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Something like that, rather than just getting a gold medal and standing on a podium.
Yeah. And I get it, it's great, like, that's to some people that's amazing, and I always push people like to compete, and everyone should go and compete. I just wish that, say we're talking about the whole thing trying to change,
because they generally just only do absolutes where you end up getting prize money, isn't it?
But some of them don't. You just get another gold medal. You know what I mean? So probably not welcome to any competition ever again. My smooth comp account's going to get shut down. But yeah, I'd love to be in a position to offer and do the same thing, and
maybe later down the line we could.
Yeah, you never know.
Never know where this will take us. Yeah. Could take us nowhere, and we're just sat here talking, and the views will just keep dropping slowly, and it'll end up like Bernie said, 4 viewers.
That's it. Yeah, just want to prove him wrong.
Yeah, that's why we're still doing it now.
Yeah. So yeah, what you bringing to the table this week?
I was just like, I've been debating whether could someone like a brown belt in jiu-jitsu beat a grizzly bear with no claws. Like, if they had no claws, because there's no way you're beating a grizzly.
It's teeth and claws.
Like a teenage grizzly bear.
Well, Dagestani wrestlers.
With the sort of like a mouth guard on.
They're strong though, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'll tell you an interesting thing going off of that.
You could definitely beat a dog.
Yeah, 100%. I always think of gorillas.
Gorillas, right? Yeah.
Do you know what?
A gorilla that knows jiu-jitsu is...
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
That would take over the world.
Yeah. That'd be bad news.
Gorilla, we all talk about diet and going to the gym and all this, right? You look at a silverback gorilla, it's like the most ripped animal on this planet,
Yeah.
And they just sit there eating bamboo leaves all day.
Maybe that's where we need to start heading.
I'm just saying.
I'm not sure if I could eat bamboo leaves, so I'd get pretty bored.
I think you need
to. At this rate, I do. I did weigh myself the other day, though.
Yeah.
I told John. I did take a video of it, but I've deleted it because I need space on my phone.
Right.
And I'm just deleting pointless stuff on my phone.
Seems legit, yeah.
I weighed myself in the morning before the Wednesday class, and I was 91.5. That was in my boxers.
Yeah. That's good.
So, progress.
Yeah.
Getting back down.
Yeah, that's
If
good.
I can get under 90, I'll be happy.
So, yeah, so then you'd only be 25 kg heavier than me.
Yeah.
Good.
So then I'm allowed to smother you again.
Yeah, that's fine. I know a point that someone brought up to me today, which is quite interesting. Actually, someone reiterated it to me today, but it was actually someone else that said to me the other day about it. And it's sort of coming up on social media and stuff at the moment. Do you think the level of jiu-jitsu is changing rapidly?
Yeah.
So, I agree. But
Question answered. Done.
Yeah, I know, I agree. But to put it out here, so I would say there's blue and purple belts now. That this is a strong statement. That would have been it was a video popped up last night that sort of reiterated it to me, and it's why I wanted to talk about it today. It was like, can't remember who it was, a famous like black belt or something, said the world champions of 2001, the black belt world champions of 2001 are probably blue and purple belt level of today. Like he's basically saying, if you was to bring a black belt champion from 2001 in there, in that how
when
they
the
were
gi
fighting,
or no gi or
I don't know, but and then put them up against some of the competitive blue and purple belts and brown belts, you know, anyone under black belt now, that they would struggle and that they would like basically give them a rough time. Do you know what I mean?
See, I think that to a certain extent, but this is, I've got no facts to this, but I feel like on average, the average black belt these days is probably worse than it was back then. I think it's a bit easier to get a black belt these days than it was back then.
I think
as it's formed bigger clubs, harder to control the level of ability.
I think getting a black belt is just it's like a massive achievement in your life and your jiu-jitsu life. But it's I wouldn't say it's necessarily easier, but I think maybe it's because it's becoming less rare.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? So like we're seeing it more. Like years ago, I suppose, well, you know, way before we were training, I think like even Bernie's mentioned this to us before about like when he first started training, it was like, you know, there was like,
it was rare to see even a blue or purple belt.
Yeah, or they're like if you was to get a black belt, or a black belt was teaching you in your gym, it was probably like
insane.
This is mental.
Yeah.
But what would have assessed to make them a black belt then is probably a lot different than now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because who was promoting these guys, whereas now the level is quite
and there's such a wider group of people that train now.
Yeah.
And everyone trains for different reasons and everyone's journey's different.
Yeah.
It's harder to control. Well, I think the competitive side of things, I would probably say, the black belts are better than they were back then.
Yeah, 100%.
On the average black belt, I'd say is worse than it was back then. I've got no facts to that. It's just my personal opinion. I could be completely wrong.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree.
You reckon?
I don't know. I just think it's such a journey to get your black belt. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think all belt levels are just way better than what they would have been. Again, don't know. Haven't been training that long. Let's say 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think that seems like it's quite a short space of time. I just think that.
What, in the full range of like having a competitive black belt and just a hobbyist black belt?
No,
back then are both going to be worse than now.
Yeah, I think that it's so hard. And it has been made so hard. It's probably got some to do with like social media and like you can't fake your way anymore, can you?
No.
In jiu-jitsu, like
as a hobbyist, I think you can possibly fake your way to a certain extent.
You just time on the mat, just putting the time in on the mat, and just potentially like going up through the ranks, getting a strike.
But do you think there's any club out there that, because they're like small, they're just handing out belts easier just to try and get that sort of look on social media?
I think.
Do you think that's a thing?
I think it could be, but I think they'd soon get found out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People cross train and like, you know, if you was to go to another gym and you had like a black belt and you just absolutely smashed him, it would get back.
Yeah.
You know, like you'd be like, yeah, I went and trained at this gym and I like submitted their black belt like 20 times or whatever. But then this is what I'm saying about level, because that guy might have trained for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can't hold someone back forever just because matey that owns that gym and it's a black belt is like won 10 times world champions or whatever, so that's a black belt.
Yeah.
It's different, isn't it? I just think what my thing on it is like, I just think that when I look at competitive blue belts and you know, or even white belts, purple belt, like you watch some of the matches and you're just like, fuck, like that guy. Here's the best way to put it. Look at people like J-Rod, yeah, from B Team.
Yep.
Is he a brown belt now? He's a brown belt now, but he was a purple belt for a long time, beating black belts, yeah. His brother, Nicky Rod, was a blue belt, and he was beating black belts at Worlds, wasn't he? Or ADCC.
Would you like call black belt Slayer or something?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's the levels, isn't it? But those guys that he were beating that were black belt have potentially been black belt for like 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean. Is the level now that he's been able to train so rapidly up to that point?
I think BJJ as a whole has evolved. There's a lot more now than there was back then, technique-wise.
That's why I wonder about this whole... I mean, you have this conversation quite a lot about the whole... Quite a bit. And it's about the time at belts.
Yep.
So it's strange, isn't it, that it's still quite a thing, isn't it, to be like... It's quite a structured... Like, jiu-jitsu is quite a structured thing. It's like... You know, you could roughly have your white belt for like a year and a half. I mean, obviously, this isn't every gym. This isn't everything. But you know, you say you have your white belt for like a year and a half, 2 years. Sometimes people are longer. Yeah. Then, like when you get your blue belt, if you're training consistently, you know, it's like I think IBJJF's minimum of 2 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same then for every belt after that. Roughly
Possibly.
minimum 2 or around 2 years or something like that, isn't it? But I always see, and I look at other gyms and stuff like that, and I'm like, that guy can't be a white belt anymore. Like, you know, he's like training all the time, and he's trained for like 9 months, and it's like, that guy's. If you was to put that white belt and plop him into another gym, he'd be like everyone, and you know, potentially like fake it, put a blue belt around his waist,
and pass as a blue belt.
Yeah, and he would. But it's different levels, isn't it, of different gyms and different that, and that's.
But sometimes with those levels, is it because they're only training like no gi, then they put on a gi, and then they're they're a white belt.
That's what I mean. There's so much to it, and there's pluses and minuses to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because it's the jiu-jitsu like. Ooh. Grading system as such, because there's no like, you know, most other martial arts have like a structured grading system, don't they? Whereas I enjoy jiu-jitsu because it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like free.
It's chill.
Yeah, exactly. Like
there's some places that do have like a structure and like almost like a syllabus of things you should know before getting a belt, and then you do like this whole thing of like roll with every belt level and
See,
stuff
I'd
like
hate that.
Yeah.
I'd probably quit.
Yeah.
If someone was to try and like
implement that.
If someone was to want to test me to get to my next level, I'd be like, nah, I'm cool. Don't worry about it then.
Just leave me where I am.
Yeah, like I want to do that on my own.
Yeah.
I want my own.
That's why I think people love jiu-jitsu so much. It's just such a chill vibe. There's no like, obviously you get seriousness when it comes to competing and stuff, but your coaches just test you by rolling with you and seeing how you perform against certain people in the gym, and just see how you present yourself on the mat as well. Yeah. It's such a better way of doing things.
Hence why I suppose that, you know, not everyone pushes competition.
No.
But I suppose it helps you to show your level when you do compete.
Yeah.
Because
you get to test yourself against people who you don't train with.
Yeah.
And under a situation where you're both trying to win. So it's a good way of seeing what techniques work for you, where you make mistakes. Because sometimes it is just a slight slip up.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I've experienced that. But sometimes you can have a really good day and your jiu-jitsu works perfectly.
Yeah.
Or you might turn up and you just have a horrible day, not able to show any of your ability, but then you go to the club the next day and your jiu-jitsu's fine.
Because it's like, for you, for example, right? And this isn't... Normally I don't compliment you, so don't say this, but...
Oh, I'm excited about this one.
In our gym...
Yep.
You could probably beat most people, yeah? If you're in a roll, right? Well, you don't have to agree, but this is my personal thing, right? So, in our gym, you could probably beat most people in a roll, yeah? You've got, again, you're a brown belt, you've been training for ages, but you've also got the size advantage and stuff like that, yeah? But So if you was to look at it like that and look at it in a small world, they could be like, well, then you're a black belt, yeah. But then you pick you up and you go and put you into like another
a room
gym.
full of black belts.
Yeah, and then it's like humbles you back down again, doesn't it? And go, oh, no, actually, yeah.
That's why I've always, like, through my belts, I've always enjoyed so much training elsewhere as well.
Yeah.
Training with people who I don't usually train with.
Or competing.
Yeah. So then you can test yourself, and it does humble you a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
Brings you back down and be like, right, I'm still know nothing. And then you go back and you train some more, and you learn a bit more. And then from the things you learn, passes on to the people you train with, because they're like, oh, he's doing this now. How do I counter that?
Yeah.
And then you go on and train with people again, and it's just constant circle of just learning, and then just getting your ego brought down and all sorts. It's great fun.
But so it's sort of like what I brought up was about the level.
Yeah.
And what do we think the level is now? So from when you first started to now, do you think that there's a great skill, I want to say, I don't know how to word it, like skill divide, skill gap between potentially white belts that you trained with and then white belts that you train with today in the gym?
Yeah.
Would you say that they are like higher level?
Yeah, because when I started, our coach was a blue belt and the rest of the room was white belts. Whereas now, the skill level in the club, we've got black belts, we've got brown belts, we've got purple belts, we've got blue belts. So white belts going through have a lot more knowledge and technique around to learn from. And there's a wider range of ability and different games to learn off.
Yeah.
Because, like, we were just learning off our head coach, and we were like, oh, okay, this kind of doesn't work for me, but I need to learn it.
Or you don't know any other option.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas now we've got so many different games. Like, you've got Sean's game that's just, like, insane with movement. It looks like he's doing a dance the whole time.
Yeah.
You've got other people where it's just pressure. You've got people where they stay underneath and tight. Like, there's so many different variants to learn from, and you see, oh, this guy's doing it this way when this guy's doing it that way. And it's just a lot easier for white belts now in our club to see all these different techniques and be able to be like, I think that's going to work better for me than rather than this.
Yeah.
And develops a lot quicker. I noticed that from training on the Tuesdays when we do the open mats. We get white belts who come train with us. I was saying after we trained, I was like, I'd feel so lucky to have one of these private sessions in
like
a garage.
A room full of brown belts.
Yeah, with just brown and purple belts.
Yeah.
Like, if I had that when I was a white belt, I'd be loving it.
Yeah.
Like, the opportunity is just to learn from them, and it's just insane.
And they are learning. Well, me too. You know, I'm still a beginner.
I still think of myself as a beginner.
Yeah. But, like, we're all learning from very skilled guys now.
Yeah.
So the level's definitely gonna change. But will it keep developing? Will it keep changing? Will it get harder and harder and harder to
It'll just be different trends. Something that works more for this certain style that we're going through at the moment, and then someone will find something else that then counters that trend, and it just keeps changing.
That's quite a funny thing, actually, because when you're training and say coach shows a technique or whoever shows a technique or whatever, and then you sort of like, when you are like getting the basics, you've got 1,000,001 questions, haven't you, running through your head? Yeah. And it's like, what happens if that? What about if that? What happens if you do that, right? And then eventually you just reach a point where you're like, that is jiu-jitsu. Like, you could teach a technique perfect, right? But there will always be someone out there or some sort of counter for it, and that just is jiu-jitsu.
It's like, sometimes I get questions when I show a technique and be like, yeah, but when this counter, if I did this, it stops it. It's like, that's everything. Like, there is something that will counter everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you can't stop. There's not one perfect situation of going from standing to the ground where, like, there's nothing that can beat it.
If someone's drilled a technique absolutely down to the, like, pinpoint amazingly, and they've got like a sequence, they're gonna go into a comp and they're gonna, I don't know, they're gonna go in, get a grip, single leg takedown, they're gonna do a leg drag, pass, whatever, side control, pass to mount, blah blah blah, and submit, and they get that, and it's like, boom, done, But there's probably 20 counters
Yeah.
from the start of that technique, it's purely because that guy's drilled it so much
Yeah.
that he gets it, like, you know, fluidly.
Yeah.
But
And it's like you show a technique and it's like, oh, why wouldn't I do this instead? It's like giving you options. There's multiple things you can do from the situation. They're not all going to suit everyone.
And I enjoy doing that. So when I get taught a technique now, I don't think I was I don't think it was possible for me like a couple of years ago to be in the position to do it, because I was like, you know, you're still very much like molding yourself. But not saying this isn't to say that I'm very good. I'm at jiu-jitsu or whatever, but
ego's coming out.
No, but what I mean is I try now, and I try to like break it down myself and answer my own questions.
Yeah.
So like
playing with it and knowing what works, what doesn't feel right.
Me and Sean do it quite a lot when we drill together. We'll be like, oh, you know, even stupid stuff like if you've got like a left collar grip, and then you're like, well, what about if I switched it to the right? And then, you know, you'll try and do it, and Sean will say, oh yeah, but then I could do this, and then I'm like, yeah, but I could do this, and you sort of like, you take what the coach is showing and then you expand your own sort of like knowledge onto it, and then that's how I have certainly tried to develop, if you know what I mean. Because if you go into a class, I think Yuki said it, or whoever was training with Yuki the other day, didn't he? You know, they say, you go to a seminar, you go to a class, coach teaches you 6 things. If you take one away, and you're able to do that, then develop off of that one thing. Yeah. I think if you try and go...
It's not necessarily even the technique, it's like an adjustment to the technique, or like a grip or something, because then you can translate that to other parts.
Something you already know.
Yeah. You'd be like, oh, if I grabbed it here instead of here, what difference that makes. And then you just notice, like, it makes a huge difference. Just such a small thing can make a big difference.
And even someone like Yuki potentially is still adjusting his... He might, you know, I don't know, but he might go into a seminar and there's like a purple belt in the class, and he goes to Yuki, oh, what about if I do this? And then Yuki might go, oh yeah, I never thought of that. You don't know, do you? Like, and it goes back to the level of like black belt, brown belt, purple belt, or whatever. Yeah. Everyone has their own thing, and everyone has their own way of style, game, blah 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 blah, and everyone is learning.
Yeah, it's like when Yuki, going back to like the weight thing, when Yuki showed a technique using me to show my partner, or so I could feel it, he felt like he was over 100 kg. Like, he felt so heavy, just his control. I was just like, I know he's small, but if I was blind, I'd think this guy's like 120 kg or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He's amazing.
Yeah. For going off of this subject quickly, just as we're talking about Yuki, for anyone who doesn't know why we train under Parestra UK, but Parestra is Yuki Nakai's
baby.
Yeah, what would you call it, John? What would you call it? Like academy sort of thing, yeah. And then obviously Jeff from Ippon took it on as Parestra UK, didn't he? And then it's filtered down, and there's like gyms all over the place. But for anyone who sort of doesn't really know Yuki, there's a documentary. I think it's still on YouTube. We're not sure, are we?
It's called
Choke. And he basically, why he's such a legend is because he effectively, you want to say, like, not created MMA and what it is today, but he was probably one of the
warrior.
He was probably one of the biggest like impacts on it. He did because it was Vale Tudo, wasn't it? Which actually Vale Tudo translates to like no rules or something like that in Japanese. It's something like that. Yeah. You know, don't you?
Oh yeah, I'm fluent in Japanese.
Yeah. Any Japanese people
Konnichiwa.
Watching? Yeah.
Is that Japanese or Chinese?
Don't know. But yeah, so he basically he was doing like a 4-man tournament or something, wasn't he? And in like his second fight, he got gouged in his eye, and he went blind in one eye.
And continued
on. He lost his last fight, didn't he, against Hickson. One of the Gracies? Yeah. But yeah, basically he is like quite a big legend.
Absolute warrior.
Yeah. And he comes and he does the seminars, and he's like this gentle man. Like English is very poor, like he doesn't speak much English, and his black belt looks like a white belt. It looks like a shoelace.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then you sort of like, if you ever watch that, so anyone listening, I would recommend, especially people who train under Prestra, if you haven't, go and watch that
100%.
documentary on him, and then it's sort of like it'll implement like what a legend this guy is.
Yeah.
But I forgot to touch on that last time when we were talking about seminar.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think at this point we're just over an hour in, so
Oh, that went quick.
yeah. So I think we should wrap this one up and save some of the other stuff for the next pod.
Yeah.
With our guest.
Yes. Well, we hopefully got 2 weeks. Well, hopefully 3 weeks worth of guests. Actually, there might be. So I'm saying this.
Yeah.
It might be a rolling thing now of a few guests actually, because
Hopefully.
I think we've got.
We'll just have to get them in whenever suits them.
Yeah, I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 people lined up, but we just can't seem to get our times put together.
We ourselves are mixing up. Like, I think you're contacting someone when you're thinking I'm contacting.
We're so good at this.
But
anyway, we need to end the podcast. Yeah, and we got who suggested this?
John
Vickers. Yeah. So we're gonna end the podcast now with
3,
2,
2, 1. See you later.
See ya.